And now, in studio, bringing his Midwest values from the Show Me State to the land of San Diego. He's a triple threat, licensed as an attorney, mortgage broker, and a top producing realtor who's crushing the competition. Here to deliver you what's happening in the trenches of the market. Your host, Michael Gaddis.
Welcome to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170 The Answer. I am your host, Michael Gaddis of michaelgaddis.com and frontierloangroup.com. I am here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. to discuss anything and everything related to real estate. So my very special guest today, my first special guest today, is Michelle Herrera of the Michael Gaddis Realty Group. Thank you, Michelle, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Michael.
Now, one of the things I wanted to talk to you a little bit about is buying workshops, home buyer workshops.
Yeah.
Now, let me kind of switch. Let me explain to you why I think that these home buyer workshops are extremely important. Part of the reason why is because, as everybody knows, I am an attorney, a mortgage broker, and a licensed real estate broker. Now, in my attorney world, when people call me, most of the time people will call me about real estate issues related to transactions, having to do with, they're upset with their real estate agent for one thing or another, something that they did, whatever. They're upset with something. Now, what I've discovered over the course of time is that over 90% of these issues could have been resolved if it would have been handled in a different way from the very beginning. And a lot of that goes down to education of the home buyer. See, a lot of home buyers rush in to purchase properties without even knowing anything. They have no idea. They have no idea. It's very daunting to them. But they'll do anything else. They'll buy and they'll research the hell out of it, right? They'll go and research the hell out of buying a car. They'll go to 50 million websites. They'll do whatever they can do to do that. But when it comes to buying a house, they just go to their cousin Bob. Their cousin Bob, who is a real estate agent, and they'll do that.
Cut them some of their commission, and that's where
they do whatever they can do. But it's amazing to me that somebody's going to go into a transaction that is so involved and worth so much money.
All these people going to lawyers, and then you have all these cases, right? Do you ever have that?
No, all the time. It happens every day. I had one early this morning before I even came in. Somebody was upset with their real estate agent, their listing agent.
For what?
What were they upset about? They were upset because they accepted a shorter contingency period on the loan. So now they were forced to release contingencies because their listing agent gave them 12 days instead of the normal contractual 21, and they wanted to know why, and they were upset with them, and so it was causing some problems. No, they didn't at the time.
And their realtor just wants to get that offer accepted, so they accept whatever counter they give them.
That's exactly what happened. And so that's what happened. And so now the listing agent, the sellers are upset with their listing agent about that and wanting to know what their rights are. And I think, as I said, a lot of this just comes down to pure education. Now, what I want to talk about mainly is home buyers, and because I know I've been to a lot of open houses recently, and I've seen the buyers out there. The buyers are there.
Yeah, definitely.
They're everywhere right now, especially up in North County.
How many did you give me this weekend? Remember?
I know.
They're coming out of the woodwork.
They're falling out of the woodwork. So I think that a lot of it goes down to just pure education and knowing things. And for example, there are things that that basically we as consumers rely upon our experts to tell us. For example, most buyers don't know what a clue report is and why it's important to a real estate transaction. They don't know what the difference is between Section 1 and Section 2 termites.
Oh, yeah.
They don't know what costs are customarily paid for by the seller and the buyer.
Exactly.
And they're relying on their real estate professional to tell them that. And and I understand that. When I get professional advice from somebody, I will also, rely on their, professionalism. But let me tell you something. If I'm getting a bankruptcy or a divorce or whatever it is I'm going to get, I'm going to do my own research too, so that I don't go blindly in to talk to somebody.
You accept what somebody tells you.
That's right. And that can be problematic because if you don't know anything and you go into it, then you're 100% relying on somebody else's expertise to make sure that they're telling you everything that you need to know.
Yeah. I just went into escrow on Friday, and the listing agent, she advised her sellers to, they don't want to sign anything. They say that she's telling them they're not responsible for a termite, they're not responsible for a home, not the home inspection, but the home warranty and all these things that are customary for the seller to pay for. She's like, here, I'm not gonna say the name, but here at our real estate company, we advise all of our sellers to not do this or this or this. I'm like, this is customary in every transaction. She's like, I've done 50 sales this year. I'm like, if you've done 50, you would definitely know that, your seller pays for termite section 1.
Well, those are negotiable items. However, you're right. Customarily, they are, certain things are paid for by the seller.
Exactly.
Now, if somebody comes at you straight out and says no, 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 then as a buying agent, you need to tell your client, look, normally these items are taken care of by the seller. And if we go to 10 houses, 9 of these sellers are going to pay for it.
Like that.
This person is not.
If you really want this home, then this is what you're going to do.
This is what you're, and you need to make sure they thoroughly understand that.
Exactly.
Now the goal is if you as a buyer already are familiar with some of the things like what's customary, for, to be paid for.
That, then you can go into
it makes it so much easier.
It does.
So that's why we're putting on a bunch of these workshops to kind of help people, educate them from A to Z
Everything.
about everything you need to know. From the moment that you you decide, hey, I want to buy a house, to the moment you get your keys, that's what these workshops are geared to do. And for some reason, I keep saying workshops. I don't know why. Even when I'm typing, I've been typing about the workshops, and for some reason, the O and the I are next to each other.
Ship in your head.
Yeah, and so
yeah,
I keep typing in workshop, and I don't know why. It's so frustrating.
It's time to take the ship.
That's right.
Wow.
So workshops. That's what these workshops
They're
are geared at.
workshops, everybody, not workshops.
Not workshops. So what we're going to basically do is try to, from very beginning to end, educate you on the process. We're going to talk to you about the difference between pre-qualification and pre-approvals. There's a big difference in that.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to talk to you about what you should be looking for when you're looking for houses. Checking out for Mello-Roos, all types of things. That's right. And so basically what it is it allows you a certain level of knowledge so that when you communicate with your real estate professional, you're doing so on a more educated platform. Right.
Yeah.
You're not just doing it. Yeah, you're not just saying, oh, is that the way it is? That's right.
Because technically, they could just give you a bunch of words that you don't understand, and you're going to accept that.
Well, and I will have to say,
that's what we want to help you avoid.
I will have to say, since I deal with a lot of real estate professionals a lot of times they don't know as much about the process as sometimes they seem to indicate.
Yeah.
And I could quiz a real estate professional just about the RPA, the Residential Purchase Agreement. I could probably ask them 10 questions about it, and they probably would be able to answer maybe 7 out of the 10.
They're like, can you call my TC?
Yeah, the TCs, they rely on TCs. I mean,
they're amazing people, though, those TCs.
Those TCs, they know their stuff. So, I mean, I think that in general, what I really strongly believe, and this is no matter what you do, whether you're getting a loan, whether you're buying a car or a house, no matter whether you're investigating getting financial planning, whatever it is, you should do your own independent due diligence. You should find out what it's all about on your own, and it's not difficult to do. Okay, you can find out on the internet. You can Google. You can attend workshops, not ships, workshops.
You can go to our workshops.
That's right. You could do those types of things and learn about things and why they're important.
I highly recommend anybody in the San Diego area to give Michael a call or look on our website and definitely attend.
Well, I think it's definitely advantageous because one thing is for sure, whether you use our brokerage for real estate representation or not, you're still welcome. But one thing you'll know when you walk out of that workshop is a whole lot more than when you walked in. When you walk in, you didn't know anything, and you might even think you know stuff.
Yeah,
and
whether or not you're a first-time home buyer or not.
That's right. I challenge everybody out there who thinks they know about a real estate transaction to attend the workshop, and I'll give you a quiz at the beginning of the workshop and a quiz at the end, and we'll see how well you
do that.
Yeah, really.
No,
that should be the way to do it because it does work.
It's a good idea.
Because there are things that come up. I've had people arguing over Section 1 termites. Who's going to pay for that? Well, we're not going to pay for that. And getting through these things.
Who's going to pay for the title insurance policy?
That's right. Or the difference between a CLTA and an Alta policy. Sometimes buyers don't even care half the time.
No.
And you know what? I've had that issue come up where it was really relevant. It had to do with an unpermitted structure on a property.
And when does that matter?
It mattered then because
Exactly.
the policy that they had in place did not cover it, and it would have been covered had they had a different policy. So these are things that you don't even think about that could come back to haunt you.
Come up.
Yeah.
It's a 14-page purchase agreement
No, and it's not just the purchase agreement itself. It's all the disclosures and the due diligence that you need to do.
Yeah.
You know, what type of inspection should you be having? You know, during your inspection, what are the things you should look at?
We should be looking at.
Now,
Like your inspector that you were talking about this morning.
Right, I was telling Michelle this morning that you know, I have an inspector. He has a thermal imaging camera, and what he does when he looks through the property, it was really interesting to go through the house with him because he did his inspection. He says, "Now watch this." So he goes through the house and he has this thermal imaging camera and he points up at the ceiling. He says they had a water leak there before.
That's horrible.
And I said, "How do you know?" And he says, "Well, because this is reading the moisture in there by the heat." And so we questioned the seller who did not put
That's so
a
funny.
water leak on his
Horrible.
TDS.
Yeah.
And so,
he knew about it.
well, he did, and it turned to find out what happened is that it was either the toilet or the bathtub had overflowed at one point.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't because there was something wrong with the pipes.
In the piping, no.
It was something because I guess his child left the bathtub on and it overflowed. Well, that happened, you know, a while back, and he just cleaned it up, so he didn't think it was a big deal.
Yeah.
But when the guy with the thermal imaging camera comes through, he sees that water spot there.
Oh, I'd be so mad.
I
He's
know.
Like, go away with your thermal. I don't know.
Well, it is. Well, as a seller, he was probably frustrated. As a
Yeah.
buyer, it's amazing to
You'd be
have those
very
types
happy.
of tools because you could find things out that you normally wouldn't find out.
Exactly.
And if you get an inspector who doesn't have one of those thermal imaging cameras, you probably wouldn't even know the
That's
difference.
really not common though. Those little thermal.
No, yeah, they're becoming more and more
Are
common
they?
now. Yeah, they are, and it's a really good tool when you're doing an inspection of a house.
Because you never know what's underneath.
Well, you
It's
don't
like
know.
When you pick a scab.
That's right. You can see through, you know, it helps you see into the house a little bit more. So
Yeah.
just knowing these types of things are
What's important.
that's right. What's important and what's not, where to look, where not to look. You know, some of the things, even when you're shopping for a house, what are the things that you should be, I'll give you guys all an example. Every time I walk into a house with the buyer, the first thing I do is look at the windows. I
Really?
see if they're single pane windows, or I see if they're, you know, dual pane or replacement windows, because
Yeah.
the cost to replace those windows can
It's-
be,
It's really bad.
it can be a lot.
Yeah.
And
Over
so,
10,000
yeah, so
maybe.
I just make somebody aware. I have a little checklist of things like that I go through and say, hey, look, I know you like the house. I just want to point out, here's my observations.
That you're gonna wanna do.
Yeah, so
I think
keep that
roof
in
for
mind.
me is a big one.
Roof is always important. And that's also one of those words I can't say very well, roof. Because I'm from the Midwest,
How do you say
Missouri.
groceries?
Groceries.
So I had my friend Nico. She says groceries.
Oh, groceries.
Yeah, and we had a very long discussion about this Sunday morning.
Well, I
Groceries.
say certain. Paul, you're laughing. What are you laughing for over there?
Well, I just funny because I have family from Boston, so they
Oh.
make fun of the way I talk. I make fun of the way they talk.
Do you say groceries or groceries?
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 That sounds. Yeah, that's
no,
right.
you said groceries.
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 Food.
I guess I've never noticed
Let's go
it.
back to rough.
But you know, it's funny because I'm from Missouri, and in Missouri we say, you know, the words similarly. So we're saying it wrong. We all say it wrong together. I come
Yeah,
out to
so it's
California.
okay.
People are asking me, "Where are you from?" I'm like, how do you know I'm from somewhere else?" Well, you just said roof or not roof, and I don't you know. So they
It
pick
is
out those
rough,
little things.
Not rough.
Well, anyway, Michelle, I want to thank you for coming in today. It's been fun. And
Thank you.
if anyone out there is interested in attending one of these workshops, not
Please
work
give us
shifts,
a call.
please give us a call. You can visit www.michaelgaddis.com and just call my office. But thank you, Michelle, for
Thank you,
coming in today.
Michael.
After the break, I got another very special guest. If you thought you needed a bankruptcy, this is the man to talk to. You're listening to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170, The Answer.